mentioned to you this week that I've gotten the sense that an inside linebacker is going to be targeted by your favorite football team in the upcoming draft. And there's a part of me that's a little bit sad about that because it feels like it'll come at the expense of a defensive lineman. Good morning to you. Good Thursday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Daily Shot of Steelers. It comes your way bright and early every weekday. If you're into hockey and or baseball, I also offer daily shots of Penguins and Pirates in the same place that you found this. There's been reinforcements brought in for the line. Dean Lowry was the latest coming in as a free agent. He's 29 years old, been in the league for 8 seasons, spent the first 7 with the Packers, last one with the Vikings. He's got good size, good athleticism, 6'6", 296, but also can move for that size. He's never been all that great or flashy when it comes to getting to the quarterback. Just been a solid run stopper. If you think about where you would have him in a healthy hierarchy, meaning you were satisfied with the starters that you had, and you were satisfied with the potential, he'd probably be your Chris Wormley guy. That doesn't mean that they're all that similar. Worm could get to the quarterback, and Worm was not a great run stopper. He eventually became a better one, but he wasn't a great one at any point. But if Lowry comes in and he offers some support on that front, a vital front for this team, great. You're still looking at, within a 3-4 scheme, Cam Hayward, Larry Ogunjobi, and Keanu Benton as your starting line. You've also got in that mix Montravius Adams, who I think is going to play more snaps than most might expect. They really love Mon Adams. I do too, actually. Just have to fess that up. You have your Isaiah Loudermilk, DeMarvin Leal types. I wouldn't be surprised if Leal gets traded. He just has never been a fit for this scheme, or maybe he's never been a fit for this team. I don't know. I do know that when you have a player picked as high as he was and he can't even get a hat on Sundays, it's time to rethink the thing. But overall, you can't wish for a draft to be the thing that you want, the thing that lines up with your needs. The Steelers needed a quarterback a couple years ago in the draft. It's now become obscenely clear that class, that specific class of quarterbacks, was absolutely awful. The only decent QB to come out of the entire pack wasn't even taken in the first 6 rounds. It was Brock Purdy, taken dead last, Mr. Irrelevant. So what did they do? They got to their spot. They saw Kenny. They took Kenny. You can't wish it. You can't draft by need. Say this all the time. I'll say it again when everybody's getting all stoked about Jackson Powers Johnson, the big center from Oregon. If he makes it down to where the Steelers are, and there's a tackle who's better, you take the tackle. You figure the rest out later, but you take the tackle if the tackle is a superior football player. Simple as that. So you can't wish that there'd be a whole bunch of defensive linemen. That is not what this class has. Certainly not in the first round, arguably not in the second round. There are some decent ones in the third. But if you're going hunting for inside linebackers, as it appears that the Steelers are, again, based on indications that I've gotten, then chances are really, really good you're going to enter the year yet again with an older, less stable defensive line than you'd like, and you're going to enter yet again without your next great defensive lineman. That hurts. That hurts. If you're the Steelers, the franchise of Mean Joe Green, that hurts. If you're the Steelers, the brand that was built on the steel curtain, that hurts. So you're going to have to make something happen out of this group that I just read off to you. I liked having Armon Watts around. Armand Watts showed a lot of potential. He's gone. Lost him to free agency. So what I need now to make this work is, kind of obvious. Cam's got to be some good version of Cam. And he knows that. He knows he's got to stay on the field. He knows he's got to be out there at something more than whatever it was that he was playing at admirably, but not all that effectively for the second half of the season on one leg, basically. Larry O, I don't know that he's ever been 100% since he's been here, and that was known at the time. You'll remember he had a contract nullified by a physical just before the Steelers signed him. But he'll occasionally make some things happen that remind you of what kind of player he was when he was 100%. You're going to need that, and you're going to need Benton to take his classic year 2 leap. Can you count on all 3 of those things happening, or even 2 out of the 3? I don't know. And if they don't, who's going to make up for it out of this group? Not a great situation, and not a great place to have not a great situation. When we come back, J1Q.
This segment of Daily Shot is brought to you by our good friends at Mike's Beer Bar. They're located on Federal Street, directly across from PNC Park. Mike has more than 500 beers on tap, including from more than 50 local breweries. Stop in and say hello. Tell Mike we sent you. Mike's Beer Bar.
Today's J1Q is from Dana, and it's a response to the question that I asked at the very, very beginning of yesterday's episode, which was to try to recall what was your very, very, very first reflexive response to finding out that Justin Fields had signed with the Steelers. Dana says, my initial reaction to Fields showing up was not a good one. He's tremendously gifted with the tools, but it always seemed like every highlight was accompanied by an interception or fumble. He seems to be a fine young man, so I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. I have to admit, I'm still having trouble getting past what Mason Rudolph showed in his final 4 games and Kenny Pickett's improvement in his first post-Matt Canada game. I just had high expectations from that duo. The current duo, I'm just not seeing it yet. Dana, all of that's fair. I've made my stance clear on the previous 2 quarterbacks. I've made my stance clear on Russell Wilson, and I tried to do the same thing yesterday as it related to Fields. I'll acknowledge, as I did yesterday, that my own reflex was excitement. This is a really, really, really talented football player who can do things that other humans can't. That's a nice thing to have on your roster. You love to have that kind of clay, But like you, I think, I'm not completely processing everything, and I just want to know so much more. If you've got a couple of roaming quarterbacks, if you've got a couple of quarterbacks who aren't afraid to tuck and run, and sometimes will tuck and run by design, certainly in Fields' case, how does that dovetail with what you saw in the final few games of last season, whether it was Kenny's game, the one you cite without Canada, or the 4 with Mason at the helm? There were things that happened in those games that lined up with having a productive, physical, imposing, rushing offense. And I would imagine that they have similar schemes in mind for the new quarterbacks, specifically for Wilson. I don't want to keep throwing this out as if they're equal in this status. I mean, Mike Tomlin himself has said that Wilson has pole position, to his direct quote. But what's that look like if all of your offensive linemen were telling you, and telling people like me, that they loved having the quarterback who set himself, who hung in there, who made the tough passes when needed, and now you're going to have a couple of quarterbacks who do it very differently. Again, that doesn't mean one's better than the other, and I'm not comparing it in terms of caliber. I'm talking about style here. And you had everyone, notably Isaac Seumalo, the not so much vocal or outward, but the real leader of the offensive line. Isaac finally spoke up near the end and said, that's what we needed. That's what we were looking for. We wanted to know where we had to block. What are you going to know now? Do you have to really reinvent everything all over again? I don't know. It feels really uncertain. I'm with you on this part of it, Dana. I appreciate the question. I appreciate everybody listening to Daily Shot of Steelers, and we will do another one of these tomorrow.